Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Hollywood Red Carpet Radio Show. I'm Debbie Perkins, and I'm your host, and I have Steve Merlo this evening. He is a singer, writer, and a director, also a producer. This is a man of many hats, so welcome him tonight. Welcome, Steve. How are you?
Oh, very well, Debbie. Thank you so much. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm so glad to have you on this evening. You have a really great resume. And I think maybe because you have so many awesome things going on that you've been doing project-wise, let's talk about how you got started way back. Let's talk about you as a youth, because you have such a great talent with music. And you're obviously you love music. You wouldn't be writing it and doing it, singing it. How did you get your start? Was you always the entertainer in your family?
I think so. I knew that I was always the one that wanted to be an entertainer, more so than my two brothers. But at the same time, I don't know if I was able to hone it in quite as well when I was younger. But I was that kid that always wanted to have a microphone and do lots of singing and stuff like that. But it's just it was something that I kind of gradually took on, and always enjoyed a lot of the music that my parents would listen to. I think Roy Orbison was probably about the first real musical influence I ever had, and because my parents used to listen to him all the time, both my mom and my dad. So it started with that, and it just eventually grew to me getting a guitar when I was, I believe, 14 years old, and just learning how to do it by myself, play it by myself, because we couldn't afford lessons or anything like that. So I would learn by ear, and that's how it all started. I guess that's the long answer of how it all started, but it's I've always had that artistic mind, I guess you could say.
And writing is like I just said it the other day. I said, boy, I wish songs were like stories. Like in the old days when people would write a song, they'd actually put it in as like a tale or something to like there's a middle, there's a beginning and middle and an end. And now there's no more stories. And it's like they're singing songs, but they're not telling us anything. They're not educating us. They're going blah, 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 blah. I mean?
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. And I appreciate songs that do that. I try to actually tell stories in my songs. However, the original songs that I write are typically not the most commercial these days, that's for sure. But I'm not even sure if they'd be commercial back in the old days, because I like to write stories in my songs. My songs tend to be a little longer than most.
But you know what? There's a record for that. It was like Guinness Book of World Records for the longest songs. What was it? Was it Queen? Had one of the longest songs for the longest time. I'm not sure if anybody broke their record. Michael Jackson had the Thriller. That was a very long song. But then there's always a record to be broken.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I could go for that, but I have no idea what the world record is for longest single song.
I should have looked that up or even opened my mouth. But I think it's really interesting bringing that out to light, because you never know. That would be something that would be unique. But I like the fact that you started by yourself. And was you like when they turned to you around the campfire?
Yeah, I was that kid, yeah. And even that adult. I was that kid at the campfire, the guitar.
And 100 years ago, that's what they counted on, was musical instruments to entertain us, or them. And now music is just everywhere. But now, are you into metal, or are you into rock? Are you into soft rock? You didn't come across to me as a hip hop artist. But then again, I might be wrong, but to me, I thought he's probably listened to a little bit of metal, a little bit of the new wave music, but it's not. It's like it's been around forever. My
Yeah,
favorite.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
All of the above, really. I mean, honestly, I think every genre has music from it that I like and music from it that I dislike. You know, it just depends on what you go for. And yes, there may be a few genres that I typically don't have a lot that I like from, including hip hop. But there is definitely a share of hip hop that I do enjoy. I think again, it's more about the hip hop songs that actually have a story or they have a strong message.
They can bring you into a mood as well with the maybe not even the lyrics, but more like the beat or the tempo of the song. It can either
the
make
rhythm.
it can make your feet move, or you just happen to be singing along, even though you know it's just one of those things. And thank God that music is still very important to people every day. It really is. It keeps you out of your head. People who worry, it's like a stress relief. It's a heartbreaker's, go-to. People who are, going through emotional, they gravitate to music. If you want to celebrate really well, you gravitate to real music. you know, it is one of those things where you can't get enough of it. And it's wonderful that you're part of that industry.
Well, I'm happy to be a part of it. I feel less a part of it these days as I used to be. COVID kind of put a cramp on that as far as the music industry goes. I mean, I used to play fairly regular gigs, and COVID kind of shut that down. But it allowed me to focus on other things I wanted to focus on as well. So there's always a silver lining in that kind of thing. So, but I do miss it. I miss playing. And, I had my first gig back, about a month ago, and it was my first gig in a year and a half, and it just felt so good to be playing again, even though I was really rough. I was so rough, but, it was fun.
At the same time. You were in your element, and even if it's rough, I mean, you're with other people. You're all getting reused to each other. It's a thing, you know what I mean? But then again, I mean, I think that you can go to a concert and still have the same energy because these bands are just getting back together.
Yeah.
Like, because of what you were talking, the covert, one of my friends just went to a Stain concert, and it's a little rough, but I mean, who cares? You're high on the life of the energy in the room, and everybody around you is happy and excited, and it just lifts the room.
Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it doesn't matter how perfect the performance is, but if you're feeling the passion from the musicians, that's all that really matters sometimes, because that always comes through.
Absolutely. And people are still happy to go to concerts. They want these concerts. So hopefully in the next, few months or next year early, they start really kicking out the concerts, because who doesn't love to go? And
I hope so.
Who doesn't love to go and scream at the bands? Yeah. Tell me, the bands love that, don't they?
Oh, yeah. We do love that.
Yeah, it's like a natural high that comes from people. The love, that's love.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is really cool, because now you do actually put your music in your films, in your filming work.
Yeah, I do. I do the majority of the composing for my own films. I am working with some other composers on my next project, but that's because we had some really eager people wanting to be a part of it. So I was not that kind of person that wanted to turn very eager people down, especially in the music industry. That I know how hard it is in the music industry. And I get messages from composers for film probably 3 or 4 times a month, it's overwhelming. You know, it's hard for me to say to them that, you know, I can't afford your services, and I compose my own music myself. It's almost too bad that it's so saturated now. And I unfortunately, I think a lot of that has to do with the film industry itself. There's more and more of these films are not really using composers anymore. They're using, you know, just soundscapes that you can find on the internet or whatever. You know, it's not quite the same though. You don't quite get that same atmosphere that I think is needed in a lot of film today, and that I find that kind of unfortunate. But you know, I always try to accommodate fellow musicians anywhere I can.
I kind of understand what you're talking about, because they used to have, I want to say, 40 years ago, they would have movies with their own musical soundtracks.
Yep.
And those soundtracks would become albums and then CDs, but they reminded you of the movie. So every time you heard the song, you thought about the movie, or every time you watched the movie, you heard the song and you knew the song. So, it was like a familiar, it was a coupling thing. I thought it was always awesome. And I think you're right. I think more original filming with music that is nobody else heard before they watch the movie, I think would be great for more, you know, like you said, everybody's grabbing all this free stuff, but making your films original, that's unique. That sets you out of everybody else, you know, going generic, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I would think it would be like, just going generic, and you're taking it to another level of uniqueness, and I think that's fabulous. So congratulations on doing something a little bit different. And I love the fact you really do use real instruments, because so many computer generated sounds are now being used, and when you pick up a real instrument, that makes a huge difference. I mean, I have a friend that does scoring, and he does scoring with every instrument he can. And you gotta look at that and say, you know, people still want the original.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty awesome. So, now how did you ever get involved with directing? And you're producing, you're wearing a lot of hats right now. It looks
definitely.
like. Yeah. Would you
many
say
as I
that? Can. I think you do. But you did get Best Actor award and the Best Use of Music. So those awards show you that you're doing something right.
Well, thank you. I mean, I try not to look at awards too much for, you know, for who I am specifically, you know, because awards are nice and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you always have to be trying to improve and you know, learn from your mistakes from the past, and because you're always going to be learning, and I still feel like I have a lot to learn. You know, I really do. I never want to stop learning, and it's a great feeling to win an award, but at the same time, sometimes I even think, was I really worthy of that award? You know, but but it's nice though. Well, you know, it's nice, but at the same time, I know I've always got to keep looking to improve myself as a writer, director, all that kind of stuff.
Kind of give you that little push to move in different directions as well.
Oh, definitely.
But now you released 2 albums or more. I mean, I just got from my little bit of information, but
okay.
You released 2 albums, or you released more?
I did. My first album, I kind of want to go back and rework, because I mean, I did it all myself, and the first album I didn't quite understand the whole mixing and mastering. It was a learning process, basically. It was my first attempt with using digital audio workstation and learning how to use the mixing and mastering techniques. And I can go back to that and say, oh boy, that's really not quite up to par now. But so I do plan on.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
You're educated now, but you
More
know
educated.
your first works, actually, you can revise your songs, but your first works are really the stepping stones to what created you today. So you got to be blessed.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, my first shows were terrible, but then you learn as you go. You know, you just keep moving forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I still stand by the songs of that album. I really like the songs of that album, and I want to see them. I want to do them justice, and I think I can do that now, and hopefully I get an opportunity soon if I'm not too busy to go back and revisit all those songs and probably do some re-recording, maybe re-record the whole thing. Who knows? Just because, again, even the recording techniques I didn't really have down at the time. And again, you just learn so much the more you do it that I really want to go back to those songs and just make them as good as I possibly can. But at the same time, I got other songs I want to record too. But
Sounds like you're never going to stop. And I think you're on a really fast moving train right now because your career is boosting in different directions. And it's not, I mean, you got more than one career. You have multiple things going on at the same time. But,
very much so, yeah. But they're all passion projects, so they're all stuff I'm passionate about.
which is what makes them even more special.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, you grew up in Canada, right?
Yep, I still live in Canada.
Now, whereabouts in Canada are you, roughly? I'm
in British Columbia, or kind of sort of right in the mid-south of British Columbia. So in a little town called Kelowna. Well, it's not too little. It's little-ish. It's a little town trying to become a big city. And I've been living here since 1998. And but just called it my home since then, and I don't know if I'll ever leave, but I do like it here. It's not perfect, but I do really like it here. The weather's always pretty good here, so I really I've enjoyed Kelowna, but who knows where my career will take me?
That's true. So you're willing to travel?
Oh, definitely. I'm going to be traveling to Texas for my next film, so yeah, that'll be my biggest amount of travel ever for any creative project.
That's day and night. You're going to Texas from Canada.
Yeah, so it'll be a long trip.
The other side of the moon.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it's really going to be interesting because Texas is a great state. I've never been there, but my producer Mark lives in Texas.
Oh, really?
Yes, he does.
That's awesome. Well, there you go.
So
maybe I'll see him when I'm down there.
We'll tell you where he's from now.
There you go.
It's pretty interesting, though. And now, is it going to be a Western type, or are you looking to do something? Because I want to get into the horror thriller after the break, but while we still have a few minutes prior to the break, would this be something more? Is it going to be horror thriller, or is it going to be on a different line?
It'll be horror. In fact, it'll be a very Texas-based horror.
Oh, really? Oh, we know.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We don't want to.
You might have an idea.
We might have an idea. So if anybody knows what Texas and horror has in common, we'll be talking about that after the break as well. Now, what are some things that you are doing now currently, besides filming, that you're doing currently that I don't know, that I wasn't able to research?
A lot of promoting, mostly for the Texas-based film.
Yeah.
So I've done a lot of social media work just to get the film funded to where it needs to be. So it's crowdfunding on Indiegogo. It's done fairly well, but ideally, I don't think there's there's a certain amount that is going to be too much to raise for a film like this, because I mean it is being completely independently made. So yeah, so that's kind of been my main thing lately. And then I'm not, even though I'm not filming, I'm still kind of working on it in other ways, in pre-production ways, looking for locations and making sure I have the right team assembled and all the right gear that we're going to need. It'll definitely be the biggest production I've ever done. But at the same time, I hope to just keep elevating from here on out. So, yeah.
Are you prepared to buy barrels of blood?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to need barrels of blood. But then again, a good horror always has a great amount of blood. And you never know. I mean, there is that record too. The most kills and the most blood splatters is a thing on Guinness Book. I had no idea until I had somebody on that had won one of those, most kills, I think, in one film.
I don't know if we'll beat that record or nothing, but it'll be high, but it's I doubt it would beat any records. Again, I don't know what the actual record is for most kills in a film, but I doubt this would break that.
Do you remember what that was? Because we had somebody on that had that. I couldn't remember. I think it was 100 and something people.
In one film,
and I'm like,
crazy.
That is crazy, but I think they were attempting they were trying to do that.
They were going for that. So,
they were going crazy. But
yeah.
How did you actually, we got like a couple of minutes. How did you get interested in doing horror? What was your initial pull in?
Well, I mean, it was something getting into the film industry was something I'd always wanted to do. It was more of a writer though. And eventually, when I met my now wife, when I first met her, I would tell her I had written short stories and, rough screenplays, and she was kind of that person that pushed me and said, you should just go ahead and perfect this and go make them yourself. Go make a movie. And,
awesome.
Sure enough, it just, it's again starts rough, and then you just get a little bit better as you do it. And you get to that point where, you might win a couple awards here and there, and hopefully beyond that. You never know.
Awesome. We're going to take a really quick break, everybody. Stay tuned because we have a lot more to talk about. Welcome back to the show, everybody, and we're here talking with Steve Merlo. He is a film producer. He's an actor. He's a singer. He's a musician. And I mean, his list of things he does is just getting longer and longer as I talk. So let's bring him back on the show. Welcome back, Steve.
Hey, thanks.
That's really amazing. And we were just recapping real quick. We were talking about you living in Canada. We were talking about some of your musical background. But we also started kind of letting the cat out of the bag. You are working on a film that is a fan film, and it is one of the most famous fan films that came out of Texas that I know of. Maybe there's more, but from what I understand, this is the horror film. Now, you recreated this film to be different, but you also worked on another one. Am I correct about that?
Yeah, the very first film I ever made was just a short Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film. My wife was like, you should make this. So I did. And, at the same time I was still learning. So it never really did anything. It was, we kind of put it out there and, it just was what it was. But a few years back, somebody, had mentioned on YouTube, about there not being a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre film coming out, anytime soon. I just made a little comment on his YouTube channel, and then, sure enough, this is, he works for Universal or something like that. And he really wanted to read my script, and it kind of got the spark back in it again, and but at the same time, I knew I was never quite happy with where the script was. So it was a matter of networking with the right people and seeing if if I can get advice from other people in the industry and other writers, and see if I could actually hone in where it needed to be. And it finally just got to the point where it was where it needed to be, and it was like, okay, now I should try to do this. And here I am, a couple of years later, all set to film in Texas this March, and we have a great team. And I still can't believe we've raised about just over $30,000 on Indiegogo for this film.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It's for a guy like me that's this is just a hobby for me. This kind of stuff is just a hobby for me, and to think that I could we actually had something good enough that we could raise money for it was it's unbelievable for me, for a guy like me. But I think what's happened here is the passion that I have for this idea has kind of it shines through. It shines through in all of our social media. It shines through in our teaser trailer. It just shines through in everybody that's attached to it, that's really, really into what we're doing. And I think that's the big takeaway from it, is that even though it took a long time for me to get it to where it is, I think the passion, the spark just kind of took over, and it's because it did. People can see that, and it's a great feeling, actually. I mean, that's all I can say. It's a great feeling.
I think they were right about needing a new upgraded version, because the old one is just so, how do you want to say, it's just old, it's just outdated, I guess. And
I love it. I absolutely love it. I don't
it's called the Untold Sequel. Is that what it's called? The Untold Sequel of the Chainsaw Massacre?
That we're doing?
Yes.
No, ours is actually an unofficial prequel. It's an unofficial prequel. It takes place before the original, so we're setting it even further back. 1965. Because you know what? Yeah. I don't feel like it's something you can really set in modern days. I feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre would not be as relevant in today. I know that they keep setting these movies in modern day, but they don't really ever turn out very good. At least in my opinion, they don't. So I mean, I really wanted to capture a time period, and a lot of I think I really, what my goal was for this film was to capture a really the negative aspects of what was going on in the world at that time, and kind of do it in such a way that the film exploits it, but in a subtle way, if you know what I mean.
Right. Like when people are poor, and back then poor was very poor. It's not like they could get any help or anything. Those would be desolate times. And so, wow, I have to say that's going to be really cool. And it makes me wonder, like, how you dig into writing murders, because everything's going to be so different, and it's going to be so reaching the bar. You've got to reaching the bar, because all the horror films before were, like you said, they were based around more modern stuff. Your guy is going to come straight out of a whole nother era, which is really good. Now, it's going to be one thing. Now, who's going to play your main character? Do you want to not tell anybody yet?
Oh, no, I can mention our cast. They're all listed on our Indiegogo campaign, so and our IMDb page and everything. So no, there's no problem with that. The main character, the protagonist of the film, is his name is Jimmy, and he's played by a wonderful young actor named Jordan O'Neill, who's based out of Austin, Texas. And Jordan is just a great young actor. He just won a bunch of awards himself for his own film that he did. So he's a very, very talented young man. You'd probably want to have him on your show at some time. And so really excited to work with him. The character of Leatherface is being played by a fellow Canadian who I had originally cast here when we did our first teaser trailer shoot, because we filmed it all in Canada. We didn't have budget to shoot anything in Texas at that time. So, and we didn't even have actors in Texas at that time. So, he did such a great job. Everybody loved what he did. So, we cast him as Leatherface. His name is Scotty Parkin. And he's actually a very wonderful guy. He's very, very large, but, he's actually a really nice guy, and kind of like Gunnar was from the original. He was just really nice in person, but yeah, we're excited to work. I mean, the whole cast is great. I mean, there was a reason why we cast everybody, because they were all right for the roles. I mean, that's what it all boils down to. Sometimes it doesn't matter how much experience they have. Some of the actors are more experienced than others, but if they gave the right audition, then I cast them. That's just the way it was. That's just the way it worked. And some casting directors don't like that. I worked with a couple of casting directors on this. But when I saw certain performances, it was like, that's the one, you know.
I think that's a good way to do it, because you're giving people a chance to not only work on their craft, but be a part of a bigger type of film that will probably become a blockbuster.
Well, on a technical sense, it won't be a blockbuster because it's a fan film, and blockbusters are usually looked at as movies that make a lot of money, whereas this movie can't make any money because it's a fan film and it's 100% not for profit. But I think it'll be a hit. I really hope it'll be a hit.
I think it will.
But again, execution is the key. We have to make this movie well. We have to do a good job on it. It's one thing to have a good script, but if you don't have all the right pieces in place to make the good script, then you end up making sacrifices in your production. And I really don't want to do that. I'm that kind of guy that, I've been scouting locations in Texas for months now, and I see something very specific for certain locations I'm looking for, and I don't want to settle for second best kind of thing. And so, that's kind of what I'm I'm a stickler for that kind of stuff when it comes to production value, because I see things a certain way and I want them to shine through that way. So that goes for the acting, it goes for the set deck and locations and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very important to me.
Sounds like you really thought this one out. And the fact that you're going to Texas to film it, and where it carries the name Texas, I think that it's, you know what I mean? Like, some people can film something and then just slap a name on it. But, filming it in one location, I mean, saying that they're in another location. So you're going to really do this. And sounds to me like you put a lot of eggs in this basket.
I did. I really kind of doubled down when it came to this film, because, I was prepared to shoot it in Canada if I had to. But once it got to once we had raised a certain amount of funds, it was making more and more sense to shoot it in Texas, because now all of a sudden we're getting investors that want to be in the film that are from Texas or they're from Florida. They're not willing to come to Canada to shoot this. But if we shoot it in Texas, all of a sudden we're getting more funds towards it. So it made more sense once that started happening to just say we're shooting it in Texas. We're not going to shoot it in Canada, and that's just all there is to it. So I mean. It's I'm really happy that we can shoot it in Texas, but at the same time, I still hope we can raise even more money, because there's certain things that I want to be able to pull off that I know it's gonna take a little bit more than what we've raised already. So I don't like making sacrifices if I don't have to. But I am very glad to shoot in Texas.
You have the Indiegogo campaign. Do you have the address for that?
Like the link for it?
Yeah.
I could probably post it in the chat on here if that helps.
Okay. And we'll get that. Anybody who wants this link, just get a hold of us, and we'll definitely make sure that it gets to go to Steve, and you guys get all the connections if anybody wants to help. I think it's really great that you're able to travel to go there. Have you always thought about going to Texas? I know you're scouting, but is it a place that you always thought you ever? I mean, come on, you're from Canada. It's like I'm gonna go to Texas tomorrow. Yeah, sure you are. You know what I mean?
Well, it wasn't like that, obviously, but it's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean, as far as going to Texas, it was always my goal to get this film to Texas. It was never I'm 100% shooting it in Canada, and that's just the way it is. It was always, if I can somehow raise enough money to get this thing to Texas, I will. But Canada will be prepared to shoot it in Canada if we have to. There was definitely a lot of things I actually didn't know about Texas that, are required in our movie. One of them being that there's an old basement that a lot of the movie takes place in, and I had no idea that basements are a super, super rare thing in Texas. No idea. So that was like an obstacle as soon as I started talking about going down to Texas. A few locals were saying to me, basements are very, very rare here, So I started kind of getting concerned about that. I'm like, should I go into Texas if I'm not going to find a basement? Thankfully, I did find a basement. And, so I'm very happy that that's one of the locations we do have now. But at the same time, the exterior of Grandpa's house is something I'm very, very picky about. I have a certain look I want for it, and I'm not quite finding that look. So I'm already talking to a carpenter that specializes in horror design, and he is already talking about doing it for free just because. He's really, really behind the project, so we might just make the location rather than try to find it. Well, I'm going to keep trying to find it, but at the same time, if it's within budget to actually have it made rather than to find an existing location, we might do that because
you never know. I mean, if somebody's listening and they're Texas and they know of a scary, creepy type. You want scary, creepy, rustic, right?
Yeah, very, very rustic.
Scary, creepy, rustic, engine in the
Which
tree.
There are a lot of that in Texas, but I have a certain aesthetic. I want a tall farmhouse, a very tall farmhouse, very simplistic looking. Not a lot with awnings and pillars, and there's a lot of fancy schmancy stuff in Texas I've noticed with a lot of different architectural design. I just want a very basic cube shaped house with a very narrow roof, not too many windows or doors or anything like that, just very, very simple, but eerie looking. And that seems to be hard to come by.
Yes. That's for the effect.
What's that, sorry?
For the effects, because you're going to shoot it from multiple angles, and you want, but I mean, I think I get it. I think that's awesome. I think you're going to have way too much fun, though.
Oh man, it's I really look forward to it. That's for sure. I mean, I just can't wait till I'm actually down in Texas. Even just there in Texas before we start shooting and doing the prep and stuff like that. Helping out with the set deck and stuff like that. I'm very hands-on with that kind of stuff. And just to be there is just going to feel great.
Do you think it's going to take like a few months to do, or are you looking to do it there, get it done?
With what we've raised, I plan on doing it in a 2-week time span, 14 days shooting days, and probably a day or two off in between, just to give everybody some rest. But yeah, that's how I've planned to do it, and I'm hoping we can stick to that unless we raise enough funds that I can, get another week in there. It would be nice to have another week of filming, but when you only have about roughly $25,000 to work with as far as your production budget is concerned, there are sacrifices. So we'll have to shoot a lot of stuff in a very low ratio, and have to get the shots that we need very quickly, and rely on our actors hitting their cues, and the team getting the lighting, the DP getting the lighting in perfectly, and all that kind of stuff faster than probably ideally, but we can. I've done this type of filming before, so I've done this under pressure kind of style before, so I know we can do it. And but man, if we can raise more funds, great. That would be awesome. We have time. We're not shooting till March, so our campaign will be up till at least then.
People to kick in with production money. Good for you. It sounds like you've got your work cut out for you, and I mean
definitely.
with a bloody knife, a lot of bloody tools. Now you're gonna have to go yard sailing to pick up some pickaxes and some. I mean, you're gonna have to go get some really scary murder weapons.
We've already got. That's one thing. That's one area that I've actually done fairly well with as far as the production goes. All the antique props, antique weapons and stuff are pretty well taken care of by our production coordinator in Alabama. And I also bought a chainsaw online that fits the time period. It was just one of those. Again, the chainsaw was important to me. I didn't want to. What's that?
It's huge in this movie.
I had to make sure it fit our film. Because our film is set in 1965, which predates the original, and the chainsaw that was used in the original existed until 1970. So I was very adamant to make sure that we weren't using the same chainsaw, that it had to be an older model. And so I was looking up old model chainsaws online, and this really old 50s David Bradley chainsaw came up. And as soon as I saw the image, I'm like, that's the chainsaw I want in this film. And I joined all these different chainsaw Facebook groups, and it was funny. All these people kept telling me, "You're never going to find one that works," or if you do, the owner will never sell it to you. So sure enough, I just kept poking the bear, and eventually, somebody came across with one of those chainsaws that worked. And, I was lucky enough that he sold it to me, and, made it, we've got that chainsaw in our possession now. I'm really excited. It's extremely heavy, though. I've told our Leatherface actor, you're going to have to really be in shape, because it's like 40 pounds. It's a really heavy chainsaw. So, he's going to have fun with that.
I bet he will. I bet it'll be a toy by the time he gets done. But what a great prop. I mean, to come across an old one like that. You were meant to do this film, and things are just kind of slowly falling into place, but they're falling into place, and nothing great is accomplished quickly. It's got to be done with, like you're doing it. And
exactly. Yeah. Patience is the key. Patience is the key. I kind of wish I had that patience when I first got into filmmaking and realized that, I wasn't quite ready to do that film yet. And, but second chances this whole industry can be about second chances. So, I'm lucky enough that I get the second chance to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan film. And I really just don't want to waste it. I want to make the best of this, and make the best film possible for all the fans. And the fan support has been, I just got to say, the fan support is unbelievable. I really can't believe that we've got the fan support that we got. I was so worried with me coming from Canada that, this guy from Canada thinks he can make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. You think you're going to get a lot of that attitude, and there are maybe one or two people, that will be like that. But at the end of the day, the fans just seem so behind this, and our trailer just got so much recognition that I'm just I'm ecstatic. It's overwhelming, but it's surreal is the best word I can say for that, because I've only been making films for 8 years, and to think now I'm making this is it's surreal.
It's gonna be cool, and I know why people are behind this, because the first thing you said, that there isn't a really good one, so people are behind you because they really are waiting for that breakthrough moment where you pull a film that we're familiar with, but you'll have twists and turns that will be before the actual story of the original. So it's really cool, because I think I would like to see a good Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Jason Voorhees is making a stand nowadays, so why not? Why not?
Why not?
There's a lot of films being made left and right, and they're mostly around that. So I'm thinking, why not Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Why not?
Exactly. I mean, Michael Myers and Jason seem to get all the fan film love for the most part.
Get all the
I
girls, yes.
I think Leatherface it's time for Leatherface. So.
Yeah. Because they don't, but then again, maybe you ought to get together with them. You can make a 3-way movie with these guys all meeting each other and back in time. It'd probably happen. But I think it's great that you're setting the bar. You're setting the bar for the new wave, but yet using an old style.
Yeah, and again, it's an old style, but I think we're making it pretty relevant today. I as far as it being set in 65, I really tried to find parallels with today, and it's actually not that hard to do when you look at how messed up things are today. It's actually not that difficult to find those parallels, and so it actually still can work with a younger audience, and at the same time make people aware of what the world was like back in the mid 60s.
Absolutely. Where can people get in touch with you? Say they can get the go. They can go to the go-go, but how can people help you in other ways? Location?
Just by sharing our social media, I guess, is we have all kinds of social media. The Sawyer Massacre is on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. There's a Facebook group and a page. Go check out the YouTube channel, Meet Mungus Merlo, where our teaser trailer is, and all the different little promos that we've done. So there's just keep sharing it around as much as possible, and make people aware of this project, because I believe that there's still a lot of fans out there that don't even know this project exists, and it's about reaching them.
Now. They sure will now. All righty. So. Well, thank you, Steve. We're out of time. I want to thank you very much. This was really fun. And also, everybody out there, we want to thank you for listening every week, and we love your support. And this is a week of Mark's birthday coming up, and mine. So next week we'll be singing happy birthday, won't we, Mark?
Maybe you will, but you know me. I like to keep quiet on as the producer.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. You have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.